Hey there, Astros fans. Michael Lorenzen has been connected to trade talks, possibly with the Houston Astros. 11 days away from the trade deadline, Eric and I sit down and talk about the possibilities of making that happen. Let's go right now.
Alvarez hits a high drive center field. Bierling's back. This game is turned upside down. There's the runner. Fly ball down the right field line. Tucker comes on. Kyle Tucker. This time they finish the job.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Stros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can I find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. They can find me at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
All right, Michael Lorenzen. This is a guy that's come up recently that the Astros have been linked to. There's several players the Astros have been linked to. Marcus Stroman, Dylan Cease, Lance Lynn, and now you have Michael Lorenzen. If you've heard that name before, we'll talk about why you've probably heard the name. The trade deadline is 11 days away. And what would it take to possibly get this deal done? And let's go ahead and buckle up for a shortened edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. And thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Go and become an everydayer. Go and subscribe to us and go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you check out your podcast. Go ahead and check out your the Locked On Astros podcast. And before we get started, I do want to go ahead and read the quote, the tweet from Jon Morosi. It says, Michael Lorenzen's trade value is peaking at exactly the right time. The Astros and Rays are among the teams considering him at the trade deadline, including today, which was yesterday. Lorenzen has thrown 18 2/3 scoreless innings over his last three starts for the Tigers. And to go a little bit deeper, in his last 6 starts, he has a 2.08 ERA. And so when he was named to the All-Star game, it was kind of like, oh, you got to get that token Tiger in there. He had a mid-4 ERA, but he has lowered his ERA all the way down to 3.49 on the season. And so this guy has some value out there. The question is how much, and how much would the Astros want to outbid like a team like the Rays?
Yeah, and that really is the name of the game, Eric, is you have the Rays, you have the Orioles, you have the Rangers that all have deeper farm systems. But look, Lorenzen is a major league player, and whether the Tigers admit they're in a rebuild year or not, I mean, if you just want to know the state of the Tigers, go follow Chris Castellani because he will let you know exactly how they're doing. But the Tigers are in a position right now. Lorenzen is one of these guys where they could probably get some value back.
Right.
How high is that value? And it may actually be higher right now, not only because of his performance, but because of the multiple buyers on the market. And if it's the Rays and the Astros, there's got to be at least 3 or 4 other teams that aren't being mentioned or that I promise you agents and people are talking to. So, look, Lorenzen's not a guy that 2 or 3 years ago I would have considered, but the way he's pitching, he could be someone that could come in to help a late inning surge. We've seen at times when the offense has been inconsistent, the arms have been tired, and he did reach the 100 inning plateau, but this guy's been pitching more than not. So I think he's a solid name for us to look at and consider, like who would we have to give up in order to get Lorenzen, because his value is not super high, but I think because of demand, that makes his value a little bit higher.
I think if you are a pitcher with a 3-something ERA and you're on a team that's not in contention, and the Tigers are only 5 games back in the AL Central right now. I know you have the Minnesota Twins who have been trying to decide if they want to win this year or not. You have the Guardians that are without Shane Bieber, and Shane Bieber is likely not to be traded at the trade deadline. So the Tigers are having to decide if they're going to be a seller or not. And if they're going to be a seller, they have 2 pitchers that they can likely trade, Eduardo Rodriguez and then Michael Lorenzen. If you remember the name Michael Lorenzen, he was actually drafted by the Reds back in the first round in 2013 out of California State University as Fullerton as a basically a 2-way player. And so that's why I put in there, he's Ohtani light player. And I put light there because he doesn't really do that anymore. He's decided to focus mostly on pitching. But in 2018, he did have a season where he appeared in 54 games. He had 34 plate appearances. He had 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, batted .290 with a 1043 OPS. And then in 2019, he had something popped up on my screen, but he had 100 games. He had 53 at bats and batted .208 in that season. And then from there, the number of bats just kind of went further and further down. So I think part of that was pitching in the National League also, but I think also I think they decided to kind of use him more as a hitter in general. So, but he decided to focus on pitching, and it looks like he's been doing a pretty good job. I think what has helped him this season is he's had a low walk percentage. It's actually at a career, maybe not career low, but he's walking 2.3 per 9 innings pitched this year, which ties what he did in 2016, where he had a 2.88 ERA. And so overall, we can talk a little bit about what type of pitches he throws. But this is a guy that's already thrown 100 innings this year, and he has incentives to throw a lot more innings this year because from this point on, basically there's a little bit there's some caveats there, but for every 25 innings pitched, he's going to earn an extra $250K to his salary. So so he's definitely looking to get those innings.
Well, he's definitely motivated. That's for sure. The question is, do they want major league arms? When I'm looking through the Astros system and who they would have available that have major league experience that would be expendable, you don't want to let go of a Sean Dubin or Brandon Bielak because you've seen what Dubin can do in both a relief role and a starting role. But you've got a couple interesting names, Tamarez in Uola, who is in their farm system, who could be, starters down the road. Tamarez comes to mind just because he hasn't really lived up to expectations, but maybe going with another club, you're able to unlock something, Eric. Because Lorenzen has a trade value. If you're using just if you're using the MLB Trade Values website, and they do a good job of like rating players with salary and stuff, he's at like a 2.4. You could give them a little bit of an overpay with Hamilton and Yola, which would be like a 3.4. You give them Hamilton, Yola, 4, Lorenzen, then that would be a little bit of an overpay. But look, it's all about having the right parts, right? It's all about having the right fit for your team, and that's what they're going for. For a championship team, it's all about making sure that every player is the perfect fit. It's time. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part fits just right. So the next time you need parts or accessories, go to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right. The first time around, just add your ride to my garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop at eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items, exclusions apply. The Astros play the Athletics Friday, 8:40 p.m. Central Standard Time. Catch every pitch of the Astros hometown broadcast with the SiriusXM app. On the SXM app, search Astros. All right. I don't know. What do you think, Eric?
I think it's either going to take maybe one or two prospects to probably get the deal done, or a fringe major leaguer. When I say fringe, I mean somebody I know. Jake Myers has more value according to the
A
MLB
lot more
trade
value.
thing.
Yeah.
But I know that he's not viewed by Houston fans as somebody that has a lot of trade value. And I know somebody like Corey Julks probably has more trade value than possibly Michael Lorenzen. But if you have, let's say the Astros go out and make another trade, you may not need somebody like Corey Julks or something like that. So the Astros have some talent at the major league level that they could possibly exchange. So if you have a overabundance, you don't have enough playing time for Julks and Myers, you could possibly just flip one of those for Lorenzen if for the right price. I know that it may be a little bit overpay, but you are not hurting your farm system to do that, and you're not really hurting what's going on at the major league level. This could give Justin Dearden, after I think he just returned from the IL at the minor league level, so that once he's ready, he can come up. If you don't trade Pedro Leon, he can come up at some point. There are other options that you can trade.
Yeah.
So that's just another idea.
I just think for someone like Myers or Julks to be included in this, you would have to bring in another piece from the Tigers, because then you could build this to 2 or 3 players to get 2 legit major league players with like Lorenzen and Rodriguez, who would be a rental. You could throw in a Julks. I would feel comfortable throwing in someone like a Myers, but again, this is going to be an overpay market, but you don't want to overpay here.
Yeah.
But we're just kicking things around because
the Rays are going to be trying to outbid you, and they're not going to, like, I know you and I'm not going to mention the names you're mentioning off air that you could trade for him, but it's like, yeah, maybe those trade values would work, but that's not who the Tigers would want. And it would be who the Tigers would want. And
right. No, exactly. And that's why I like this time of year, because it's fun to speculate.
Right.
You know, I'm not the person that goes and eviscerates people because they have a thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe you would offer that trade. Like, how dare you? But look, we're just literally throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what sticks.
Right.
But what are the Tigers' needs? And I think they need a lot. I mean, you could pretty much just close your eyes and point to a baseball diamond and go, yeah, they need that, right? So they're in a good spot. It is a seller's market. It is not a buyer's market right now. And I think the Astros could get something done with Lorenzen. I like some of the other names, and we'll talk about them on other shows.
Yeah.
But he would be a solid pickup, and I don't think it's going to cost you a lot. I don't think it would hurt you too much to get him.
According to Spot Track, his average market, based on his market value going into next year, because he will be a free agent, if you would like to re-sign him or sign him if they don't get the chance to trade for him, it would take a 4-year deal with 11.9 million average AAV. So that's about 47.6 million ish.
And you know, he has a large pitch arsenal. He throws a lot of pitches.
Right.
And if he comes to the Astros, one of the things they would do is they would focus on the pitches that he's most effective and get him to focus on, and probably take pitches completely out of his repertoire. That's what they've been known to do.
Right.
And so he may become even more effective, 36 and 35 over his career. I mean, for a former position player, kind of got some Rick Keel vibes, you know, a former top pick and, you know, first round pick. And this kid's got, you know, he's got it in him, and he's only 31. So he's still fairly young. Yeah, he's 31, but he's not 36. He's not 38. So let's kick the tires on it, boys.
One thing that, like I said, mentioned earlier, he does have the low walk percentage. He's in the 77th percentile in terms of walk percentage. His fastball spin rate is at 89 percentile. His fastball velocity is at 59% percentile. He tops off out at his average velocity is 94. His sliders 85 miles per hour. His changeups 85, and he barely throws his cutter. But when he does, he doesn't always throw a cutter, but when he does, it's 91 miles per hour. So 5-6 record, 3.49 ERA, and 17 starts. He has 76 strikeouts, a 1.09 whip. I think with the Astros team, I think that would play well. He's a tall guy, 6'3". He's 31 years old. I think that you would probably see him succeed with the Astros.
He could pinch hit for Maldi.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm joking. I'm just joking.
Yeah, I know you are, but so we'll have to see how this all goes out. This is just one of the options that Dana Brown has to look at, and that's the weird thing about trying to do a trade with the White Sox. Yes, you're trying to work on that deal, but you have all these other deals that could pop up. So the next 11 days are going to be crazy. Make sure you go and tune in to Locked On Astros podcast. We'll try to keep you as updated as we can as all the rumors come and go, and it's going to be fun. And I know that Dana Brown's going to do his best to put his stamp on this 2023 Houston Astros roster, because as so far, he doesn't really have any part of this outside of draft. And so he's going to want to say, yeah, this is my team. Look what I did to it. Any closing thoughts, Brett?
No, just look, sit back, relax, and don't get too stressed out. Don't believe anything until you hear the Astros have announced this. So stay tuned in the Locked On Astros. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse. He is Eric the Man Huysman, and we are your team every single day. Thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel. We'll see you again, hopefully, with some great news about some new Astros.
And make sure you subscribe to us. I think we are 25 away from 8,000 or
That's
something
right.
like that. So go and subscribe
Get us there,
to us.
baby.
Give us a big fat thumbs up. Go Astros.